Welcome to episode 8 of Conversations at Elevation. This episode, we have Dr. Erin Olsen Pueblitz from the CSIL office, the Associate Director. And I'm really excited for this one. How you doing today, Clay?
I am doing all right. It's a great Friday. Leaving early today to go down to Denver. It's gonna be a good day. So, how are you doing today, Jay?
I am not bad. Woke up, had a good night's sleep, had breakfast, ate breakfast this morning.
Hey, there you
Most
go.
important meal of the day. Uh,
That is what they say.
yeah, rumor has it. So,
Yes.
yeah, I'm really excited for this one, and we'll bring Aaron in, and I think our lag is not terrible, but we'll get this party started.
All right, sweet.
Most important meal of the day.
That is what they say.
Hey Aaron, sorry, I was like checking something, and then you're here. Uh, how are you doing today, Aaron?
I'm doing great. How are you? How are you today?
It's Friday, so we're really excited. It's Friday. That's all I can say. It's Friday, and I'm
Exactly.
excited.
Woo woo.
Yeah.
Aaron, with Halloween being this weekend, do you have any plans for Halloween or just trick or
Oh my
treaters?
gosh. A little bit of all of the things. I have a 3-year-old, and so every type of holiday is just extra elevated and so much fun. So the Halloween actually started last weekend, and it's gone all through this week. So it's been almost Halloween every day because my little boy is just obsessed with Halloween, and so we're having lots of fun.
That's great. Yeah, Halloween was always one of my favorite holidays growing up.
Yes,
Mm.
absolutely. And I think it's one of those things, all ages, whoever you are, there's just so much fun from, oh my gosh, superheroes to pumpkin carving to what have you. It's good stuff.
Oh yeah.
Can't stand it. Least favorite holiday. There's no food involved. Like Thanksgiving, I
It's
get good
candy, Jay.
food. Like Thanksgiving, I get hearty, deep, 7-course meals.
Mm,
Christmas, same deal.
yes.
New
Yes.
Year's, I replace the hearty meals with unhearty meals, but it's still 7 courses. Like,
Okay, that's hard to compete with. Candy can only go so far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
awesome. So we have a couple. We want to first thank you for joining us today. We have a couple questions for you. Kind of like just kind of tell us about your journey through university academia, and then we'll kind of get in from there.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, first of all, thank you so much for this opportunity and this interview. I look forward to things like this. It's just so fun. And yes, so my journey through university academia uh, is really twofold. And hopefully, I will be answering your question here because I've had this kind of paralleled experience. Particularly meaning I really got my start in higher ed, academia through the admissions office. And recruitment was something I absolutely loved. I just fell in love with working with prospective students, working with junior high, high school students, really all over this region, and truly across the nation and also internationally. And what's really interesting with kind of my journey through academia, I have really been making a career here at the University of Wyoming. And let me tell you, never was that the plan. I thought I would be in Laramie, Wyoming at the University of Wyoming, maybe 3 years. And then maybe move on to a larger area, a bigger institution. And look at me now. I have been here for, let me do some quick math, 17 years, which I find astonishing. So I really got my start in admissions, where I worked for about, almost 6 years. And my undergraduate degree was in international business and Spanish. And then I worked in admissions. And what I really found through that experience is I absolutely fell in love with higher ed. and particularly working with college students. And that was something I found a great deal of passion. And I knew that I wanted to continue my education. And so I left admissions. I went back to school where I got my master's degree in counseling and counselor education. And through that experience, I had a graduate assistantship at the University Counseling Center. So I was there for 2 years, not only for my clinical internship, but additionally, I had a graduate assistantship where I oversaw our campus suicide prevention efforts. And I was heavily involved in a lot of the trainings and the outreach across campus, as well as in the community. And so that folded in such an important lens. And I am grateful every day for having that background and that training. And then from there, I, I was coming upon graduation and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to leave the University of Wyoming now. What? And suddenly there was a position that opened up in the student union. It was our Service Leadership and Community Engagement Office, the SLICE office. And I just feel like the stars aligned. And I applied, I ended up getting the job. And from there, that's where the rubber really hit the road. I was able to combine some of my past years of work experience, my master's degree, and I just fell in love with so much of the work that was heavily focused on civic engagement, leadership development, and a variety of other programs and services. And from there, I think this is now my third position really within the student union, where I've been since 2011. And last fall, finished my doctorate. And so I've just kept going. And like I said, I've really made a career here at the University of Wyoming, at least so far. Who knows what is in store in the future? But it's been a really extraordinary experience for me. And I have just so fallen in love with the students here, the people here, this institution, this state. It's been really tremendous. And I'm so grateful for my experience. So hopefully I answered your question, because I've kept going with school and then working, and I've had a variety of job experiences.
Yeah, that's really awesome. I don't think anyone plans on staying at any one university, especially Laramie, Wyoming, where it's cold 9 months out of the year.
Exactly.
For 17 years. That's amazing.
I know.
So you did mention that you completed your doctorate. You did that in doctorate of education.
Mm-hmm.
So what did you do your dissertation over, and why did you choose that topic, and what all went into choosing to get your doctorate of education?
Yeah, and thanks so much for that question. Because I do sometimes think with the doctorate, you gotta want it. It is a tremendous amount of experience, and it just takes so much time, energy, and effort. And for me, I got my doctorate of education, so it's much more of a practitioner-focused doctorate. And for the actual title, if that is helpful, the title of my dissertation was Understanding Alternative Breaks. And it was a narrative inquiry of how college students make meaning of their experience. And what led me to this, for one, this doctorate, and then let alone researching this topic, I have to look back for a minute on one of the best mentors I had years ago. Was a guy named Brandon Cosine, and who is currently one of the, I believe he's the vice president for administration at Casper College. But he was here at the University of Wyoming, and he was somebody I had always looked up to. I clung on to his advice, and he was a really tremendous force and mentor. And fortunately, he was my supervisor for a couple of years when I first started with SLICE. And I was fresh off of the heels of my master's degree. And he sat me down one day and he was like, Erin, I think knowing you and knowing some of your ambition and where you see yourself, that you've drank the Kool-Aid, you were all in higher ed. Like, I know there's no going back for you. Like, this is it. He had his PhD, and he said, my advice to you is to keep going. He said, the more time that goes after your graduate degree, after your master's degree, the more time that goes, my feeling and what I've seen is it's just harder to go back, and it's harder to get after that doctorate. And so I tell you what, I took a semester off And it took me 6 years to get my doctorate because I did it while working, and life happens, like started a family, like all of these other things, right? And I definitely would like to speak to the doctorate of education, because I do think sometimes there can be misinformation, or people don't really know, like, what the heck is the difference between a PhD and an EdD, like the doctor of education. And for me, what I really had to think about with myself, and where I see myself, where my passions lie, is I am 100% practitioner. I love developing curriculum, doing programs, really being in the work versus researching the work. And don't get me wrong, I really do appreciate that. I think that's a huge lens. And that's where the EdD was a really attractive program for me, because it just spoke to a lot of my interests. And what's great is there's a lot that a person can certainly do with it. Obviously, like college administration, faculty, you name it, it's a pretty versatile degree. So little bit about kind of why that program, and then particularly the focus for my research. And with pursuing my doctorate, writing a dissertation, I look back sometimes, like I'll kind of like skim through that, and I'm like, I can't believe I wrote that. It was like, whoa. But the piece with, particularly around alternative breaks, is my time within the Slice office, and even previously, I had quite a bit of experience with service learning, and really developed a strong passion and an interest in the experience for students and how deep the learning is. Obviously, when a student can have a hands-on experience, right, and direct experience, it just brings the learning to life. And students engage with things in such a different way. And the piece that I really dug into with my research was that element of the power of individual stories. Meaning, a lot of my research was very qualitative, so it was very focused on stories. And what I found through service learning, and particularly alternative breaks, were students were coming back from these experiences changed. And I had run the program for years, and then supervised staff running the program here at the University of Wyoming, and was plugged into a pretty strong network across the country and seeing these different programs. And I just noticed there was something there where students came back and they were changing their majors. Students were like, I'm now vegetarian, or like making really big changes in their lives. And I wanted to explore, like, what is that about? And it was a really incredible research experience. And what I discovered was, any time at an institution where we can offer these transformational experiences for students, it's a really beautiful thing. And what stood out the most for me was that power of critical reflection. And when students better understand themselves, I think they better understand other people, and they understand the importance of community. And this intersection of, oh gosh, just, I clearly I could go on and on about this, but the biggest thing, this is a strong passion for me, but I could summarize in just saying they were incredibly transformational experiences for students. And it was a really fun research project that I'm so grateful that was the subject that I kind of clung on to.
I like that you can go into depth, because I think with this series that Jay and I try and just take the passion that our guests have and show it to, and really reflect and show it to our audience, so that your passion for what you're doing and what you did your dissertation on is awesome to hear.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, like, if you're passionate about it, you can talk about it for days. And I think that's part of why we selected the guests that we have, is because they have a passion for it. So it makes a really interesting conversation, because we're learning as well. Like,
cool.
So why do you feel that the topic you chose was important in terms of what you're currently doing, and obviously what you want to do in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, it was so important for me, I think, to dive a little deeper into this topic for a variety of reasons. And one is I had direct oversight of the Alternative Breaks program here at the University of Wyoming, right? And like I mentioned, kind of these networks and an organization called Amazaji that's based out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And they're essentially like the creme de la creme for service learning exchange programs, particularly alternative breaks. And so we've been dialed in with them for years, and they're really incredible because they are so ethically sound and they are so rooted in like fair trade learning and making sure that these programs are not doing harm. And that truly was a piece too, is I clearly am highly passionate about these programs. I see the change for students. I see the growth and the development and how much students learn about themselves through these experiences, because it's this pretty extraordinary experience where students are having these experiences, but it's in a group environment, right? They're traveling with a group of maybe 10 to 12 college students, and each alternative break has a different theme. And so they're tackling some of these different societal and systemic issues, from poverty to racial justice to immigration, food insecurity, and they're diving heavily into this topic matter. And um, I am very appreciative of a lot of the programs that I'm quite familiar with. They're very sound in how they do these. And honestly, another reason that I wanted to dive into this is there's quite a few programs and there's quite a few ways that this can go off the tracks and can honestly cause quite a bit of damage to communities where students are serving if these are not properly done, these aren't properly vetted. Particularly, I'll look at, say, our institution. The University of Wyoming is a PWI, like it's a predominantly white institution. And I think why that's important to name is knowing we have so many students that are coming from rural communities, that are coming from communities where a lot of people look like them and are majority identified, and come here to this institution where we don't have a massive amount of diversity. We're working on it. We've got a lot of initiatives to expand our diversity and inclusion, and you bet, recruit and also retain and have solid programs for students of color, students with marginalized identities. But the piece too, and there again, why I name that is if you have a group of students that are part of an alternative break, that are they themselves all majority identified, and they aren't spending proper time through education, through understanding these issues, and are going to a community that is maybe heavily represented by more marginalized communities, or it's international work, there can be a lot of damage that can be done. Where for some students, it can perpetuate otherness, and very much like that's them and that's their issues and these are our issues, and a whole series of things that can go awry. And also just knowing where the money goes, because students are paying for these experiences, and that's why we hitch into some of these organizations that are so solid in what they do, and knowing that the money is going directly into that community. And there's a term with some of these programs that's called the white savior complex. And sometimes it's perpetuated through these, where you have students that, my gosh, they have the best of intentions. They want to go in, they want to serve, they want to do good work. But sometimes it can go in and be like, let us tell you what you need to be doing. Is not going to work. And there's not going to be long-term sustained change that's really benefiting different communities. So instead, what's so great, I appreciate about our program here at the University of Wyoming and these other schools that I had looked at, as well as some of these organizations, is it's like, nah, we got to go in and align with the communities. And it's about working together and asking the communities, what do you need? What are things that we could do that can offer long-term sustained change? So I clearly could go on and on and on about it, but I thought it was important to not only look at the beautiful, amazing transformational change and learning for students, but also have a critical lens over these programs. And I think that if anything, I was trying to offer a little more into the field and help, especially through a practitioner's lens, better inform other people, other institutions, other organizations that are wanting to offer these programs.
Awesome. So that was your past work and a little bit of your current work. But so you're currently the associate director for the Center for Student Involvement and Leadership. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you guys do in your office, and how does it operate within the student affairs lens at the university?
Yes, absolutely. I hope you drink a lot of coffee because I clearly have. I feel like I'm quite chatty here this morning. Okay, great. Yeah, excellent, Jay. Yeah, right there with you. Perfect. Yeah. So thank you for that. So yes, I currently serve as the associate director for our Center for Student Involvement and Leadership. The college campus, we love acronyms, so we go by CSIL. As I'm sure you know, there's a lot of acronyms at any institution. So yeah, so we go by CSIL. And I tell you what, CSIL is kind of still the new kid on the block within the institution as well as within the Division of Student Affairs. And what I think is so cool about CSIL is we're about almost 3 years old. And historically, all of these programs that are really there to enhance the curricular experience for students, right? Or a lot of the co-curricular offerings from involvement, activities, leadership involvement. And because clearly I've been on campus for a long time, give you a small bit of context. So formerly we had our student union model. And within the student union, we had at that time our campus activity center. So that was really the home for our student organizations, activities, large scale events, bringing in concerts, magicians, like fun events for students. And then there was the SLICE office, our service leadership and community engagement office. So those were kind of the main two players within the student union. And then formerly out of our Dean of Students office, the Dean of Students office housed things like fraternity and sorority life, the branding iron, so student media, excuse me, I should say, student government, ASUW, as well as a few other programs, such as like Multicultural Affairs, important one to name. And what we had found for years is we were duplicating services, we were programming over one another, and we weren't always working together, not intentionally. It's just because I'm sure, as you two know, my goodness, you get so busy in your area doing your work every day in the grind. And then it's kind of hard sometimes to kind of pick your head up and go, oh, wait a minute, you're doing that too. So I do have to give credit to one of our former Dean of Students that came in and really assessed. It took him about 6 months to go, what is going on here? Like, we need to combine these efforts. And he really had a vision for creating a leadership center. And so, flash forward a couple of years, we were able to merge all of these experiences under one shop that really created CSIL. And I'll be honest, from my experience, clearly, as we've said, I've been here a long time, it's been one of the best things I've seen out of student affairs in the last while, meaning the camaraderie, there's such a solid feeling of team, and there's just natural collaboration and natural partnerships. And it's been a really amazing thing because ultimately who benefits? Like the students, right? By combining all of these efforts. It's been really smart and it's been so much fun. In a place that I feel so fortunate to work, to be honest.
Yeah. No, I think that CSIL, and you just go and looking at the page and just like, that's so much staff. And I can only imagine like how you can see like, oh yeah, like I would see how FSL is programming over the CAC, and like it's all, and I feel like we still kind of do that a little bit with what we do in the rec center with you all. It's like, and I think this pandemic has really allowed us an opportunity to collaborate a lot more. And obviously, you were talking about the importance of leadership, and that's in the acronym. So it's obviously a big part of the mission of that office. So what do you think is the most impactful leadership development opportunity that CSIL offers?
Oh gosh.
Or you can name multiple. I don't want someone to feel slighted when they watch this.
I know, totally. I was gonna say, I feel like they're put on like a politician hat and be like, they're all wonderful. Yeah, so don't get any hot water. But in some ways, they're kind of all wonderful. I love that question, and yeah. We better be doing some leadership development if it's in our name. I think we'd have to stop and really question what we're doing if that's not what we're hitting. Yes. And here's the thing that I've loved so much in kind of merging all of these co-curricular experiences is what we've really found is leadership is folded into dang near every program, and it's really kind of at the heart of everything that we're doing, and knowing that there's so many models of leadership, right? And that's the thing that I think has been really cool, and especially we're coming from so much more of not only a collaborative lens, but also an intersectional lens. And knowing there again, not only with leadership development, but where we're folding in diversity and inclusion and laying that over almost every program we do, and making sure it's not like, these are our 3 programs that are focused on diversity and inclusion. Okay, we're done. These are our 3 programs that focus on leadership development. We're done. We've been really working hard to fold all of those things into everything we're offering. And sometimes it's not 100%, but it's something that we're questing and that we're working towards, especially like in our learning outcomes and our assessment, and trying to use that data to just get better every year. And a thing, especially around leadership development, that I've so appreciated about CSIL is um, I think with our staff and with our team, we all I think, have a collective lens, um, and understanding the journey also looks different for the students. And so for us to have a variety of offerings, like no 2 students are the same. And so I just appreciate that we've got a little bit of something for everybody. For instance, like the student organizations, my goodness, it's really incredible at this institution and the size that we are. We've got almost 300 student organizations. Like, that's a massive amount of opportunity for students to get involved. And then what I love every year is that there's students that form new student organizations, where they can find something where they can be like, this is my passion. Oh, that's your passion too. And they find enough students to form that student org. And that's been a really cool thing. And obviously there's great leadership in that too, right? By students being able to form. And those are experiences that are going to transcend past their college experience. So I realize I don't think I'm fully answering your question because there's just so many programs that we offer. I'll forever have, I think, a strong affinity towards alternative breaks, right? Obviously, I just wrote a dissertation about it and have led experiences. I've been on so many trips with students. I've overseen the program. Um, I think those ones that are always a little near and dear to your heart, that's definitely one. Um, but there's so many, from fraternity sorority life, student media. There's really incredible leadership experiences for students in terms of journalism and those hands-on experiences that they're getting.
Well, we talked to Shelby last week, and I was surprised, given everything that you talked about, that you were like, yeah, it's slice, and we it's slice, it's that alternative breaks, and it's all those experiences, and we're just like, and we're off.
So, with the current world climate with the pandemic and everything, how has the pandemic affected the way that the student involvement and leadership opportunities have looked for you guys, and how have you guys been working through it to still provide this however many opportunities for students, and then while also being safe and abiding by all the state university rules and guidelines?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be honest. I'll start out with, it's been hard. It has been really hard. I think it's been an extraordinary challenge, and I think just like you all, there's no playbook here for here's how you do this during a global pandemic. So it literally coming up with original content, looking outward at our comparator institutions, at different associations for just some ideas, and in kind of that piece, like I said, it has been hard having to pivot with, I think, the heart of something like CSIL. It's involvement, and it's connecting with students and making connections for students. And I think we all really understand our role in recruitment, of students, you bet. and also our role in retention and working towards those persistence efforts for students to keep them engaged and keep them connected and keep them healthy and um, feeling like they matter and that they're seen and that they do have a place here. That has been challenging, um, and not but and in the same breath, I do have to say I have been um, extraordinarily and incredibly I don't know if I want to say surprised, but it's been amazing to see the innovation and the creativity and seeing what our staff have done in order to offer these clearly virtually. And we've had a series and a variety of in-person events, and kind of like you were saying, Clayton, my goodness, trying to make sure, yeah, they're meeting all of the national, state, institutional, policies, guidelines, doing these safe for students. You bet. We've been able to offer kind of a variety of in-person and virtual events. The thing too that I've been surprised in is the level of engagement. Not with everything we're offering. I mean, there's some of those where it's like, well, darn it, 3 students. Okay, so okay, we're going to reassess and think about what we can offer here differently. But students have really responded because I think they're looking for opportunities to engage, um, make those connections, and I got to give it up to a lot of the staff that have done a really extraordinary job with being able to still offer. We're offering so many virtual and in-person events, from trivia to leadership development series to virtual service days. We've had some in-person service days as well, and that's been a really exciting thing to see. And a piece here, um, where I feel so fortunate, and I know like a lot of our areas in student affairs, we have really solid student representation on our committees and our boards, not only as our staff, and that's been a really um, important voice here. And I think we've been working really hard to hear directly from students, like, what do you need? Like, what are things that we could offer differently? And trying to use some of that data from students to really put together and package offerings that are really going to speak to them.
Yeah, I think with the pandemic and social distancing and everything, I think the physical distancing was needed, but social distancing is social interaction is important for our students. And I think when you're saying social, like when everyone's being told social distancing, you don't want to like socially distant because our students, they still want that social interaction
Yes.
and engagement. So it's uh, separating social and physical distancing because we do need to keep our physical distance to slow the spread and get everything. But socially, if you can do social over Zoom or those safely interaction, I think those programs, and Jay and I have seen that students want to do programs, and I'm sure that what you guys are saying, that students are really interacting and wanting to interact with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a piece that it has been hard. And I think for so many people, I think you sometimes either fall into student affairs, like just somehow kind of fall into this profession and then go, whoa, this is really amazing. I love this. Or there's those that they knew in college. They're like, this is what I want to do. I was not one of those. I kind of fell into this and absolutely love it. And why I say that is with however people got here, meaning professional staff, there's a real passion and there's so much purpose I think that staff find in also making those connections with students and making those in-person connections. And then there's extraordinary like satisfaction in seeing students grow and see them develop and make those connections. And also we know the data um, is so sound that we know the more students are involved, the more likely, right, they're going to have a solid college experience. They're going to graduate on time. They're less likely to experience depression and anxiety, social isolation, like all these things that we know are the benefit of this. And so it has been tricky to flip that and see how we do that virtually. And I love that point of we're not wanting to socially, like there's the physical distance, yes, but we're not wanting to kind of socially isolate students because they need that experience. And I think the piece too, clearly I know both of you and your areas is we still want to offer a really great experience for students, whether it's those first year students coming in or it's those seniors that this is their last lap here. We still want there to be value, and they feel like they're getting something out of their education. And we know that college degree is huge. Yes, that really is the reason they're here, is to get that piece of paper.
Yeah.
But boy, I think we all know like the experience is the piece too that matters so much. And I know we're all committed to just trying to do the best we can here.
Yeah. I remember my parents were telling me, or my dad was telling me, like, all the best friends that you'll make, they will not come from high school. They will not come from elementary school. They will not come from postgrad. They will come from undergrad. Like, those were all of my closest friends, the people that I talk to for the most part to this day, are all people that I met during undergrad. And so I think that's really important to kind of keep in mind as we're kind of going through, we're fighting the fight that we have to fight in student affairs. Like, our jobs matter.
Yes.
And it's not just for, oh, we're giving them this stress relief. It's we're creating these memories and these friendships.
Yeah.
These wedding parties. For all intents and purposes, we're creating these wedding parties. Like, we're doing all of this. We are creating like lifelong adventures and memories and everything like that.
Yeah.
I know that the Multicultural Affairs is also under CSIL, and I would be remiss to not talk about MLK DoD, and I'd love to kind of hear how that came about and what you all have planned. I thought last year went absolutely amazing. It was a pleasure to be a part of something like that. But I'd love to hear kind of what you all have planned and how everything's kind of changed with what's going on in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And so appreciate that question, because you're exactly right. It's so on point with what is going on right now, not only across the nation, but internationally. So this year's theme, and we still have a few things to kind of tweak and refine around it, but we're really looking at a theme of Black Lives Matter, strides towards freedom and justice. And we're looking at that because one, we felt it was of particular importance to meet this moment. And knowing absolutely there is a heck of a layer of exhaustion. And whether it's coming from our communities of color, from individuals with marginalized identities. And we're at this moment where we also have a national election too, right? There's so many things that are going on kind of in the national narrative. But the thing is, in kind of meeting this moment, knowing that this our week of programs won't take place until we're really looking at the first week of February in the spring, and knowing that this isn't going to just go away, and it isn't like, oh, this, people are going to be over talking about this and wanting to engage in dialogue. So we knew that this was beyond even just meeting this moment, but really focusing on kind of a movement that we're seeing and a real shift in the social consciousness of so many people, and so many people who have gone through their lives never thinking about these issues because they maybe don't affect them. And I think there's been a real shift in that for so many people. So where I'm going with this is that's the theme that we're looking at. And we've got a committee of people from across campus that are really incredible and are so committed to putting together a really solid week of programming. And more than likely is going to be virtual. And so there again, even with these other initiatives, right? It's like, how do we provide these meaningful, very critical experiences and programs for people to engage in conversation that is sometimes hard, and knowing that there's tremendous value and growth in that, and how we're doing that virtually. So maybe the shorter answer to that is we don't have the week of programs fully buttoned up, but we hope to here within the next month have that pretty well set in stone. So clearly we can market that and get that out to campus. And this has been a really important initiative that I have felt so great to be, I felt so grateful to be a part of, that it really started here at this institution in, honestly, about the early 2000s. It's one that's been around. It actually predates me, if you can believe that, how long I've been on campus. This is one that has beat me.
So is it like 18 years or is it like
yeah,
17 and a half?
17 and a half. Yeah, right, totally. I think that half maybe got me, right, totally. I know, it's so wild. But it's been pretty tremendous. And I give, I think, it's amazing. The vision that was there to create this still holds true to today. And it has definitely shifted and it's changed. And each year there's a new theme. And there's membership that shifts and changes as well on the committee. And that can sometimes adjust the focus and the lens. But yeah, we've got just a solid group of people that have really been on this committee. There's some kind of lifers like myself, and we've got new people from across campus that have been on this that are just really committed to furthering our diversity and inclusion efforts and initiatives and programs. And it's kind of twofold. It's how are we supporting our students at this institution who hold marginalized identities, and understanding the needs and what their experiences are, while also providing education and learning opportunities for individuals who hold majority identities that have never been confronted with any societal issues and been personally impacted and affected, because it's a really important piece to have both. So a little bit about that. It's definitely rooted out of Multicultural Affairs, and we've got tremendous staff in that office that are really helping to lead that. I'm actually co-leading this year just with some staffing changes to really offer as impactful of an experience as we can this year.
Yeah, I'm excited. I was really grateful to be a part of that committee last year, and this year we've kind of been a little busy here, so I haven't been able to be as involved, but it's always,
that's fair.
The moment I was able to, the invitation was extended. I was so thrilled to be a part of it, because I think it's an important conversation regardless of the times and climate that we're living in. So I thank whoever came up with it. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. I feel the same way. I do. I feel the same way. Because the thing, especially at an institution, the learning and growth doesn't just stop with students, right? It extends to staff, it extends to faculty, to our broader Laramie community. And I think the more we can all engage together in a learning environment and be confronted with, different experiences, education, opportunities, the better. Because I think it just makes this a better institution. And I think it's fabulous modeling also for our students if we ourselves are also growing and learning, right? And so any opportunity like this, I think is fabulous, as well as other initiatives that are on campus that are there to really engage people in such important and such thoughtful and needed dialogue.
Clayton, take us out.
Alrighty. Erin, thank you so much for joining us here. I know you got a busy day ahead of you, so we'll let you get out of here. So please, what we like to do on the end of all of our shows is have our guests give a motto or a saying that you guys live your life by, or just something positive to send our listeners into the weekends with. And also, if you want to give yourself a shameless plug, like what are you guys doing, programs that you guys have right now, please just plug CSIL and all of the center programs that are going on, so to let everyone know and where they can sign up for them. And yeah, so the floor is yours. So please send us out of here.
Beautiful. Perfect. Yes. I think my shameless plug would be go Steelers this Sunday. Okay, might have lost some viewers there. But, okay, sorry about that, Jay Clayton. Yeah.
No complaints.
Yeah, say, I'm married into it. My spouse is from outside of Pittsburgh, and so it's like Penguins and Steelers is pretty strong in this household. So I know we're in Broncos country. So okay, yeah, beautiful. No, I love that. I think something I have learned over the span of my life, clearly 120 at this point, is a saying that I heard years ago that that has really resonated with me, that everything is temporary. And that's something that I sometimes share with students that are going through really difficult situations, like a tough semester. And I think it even holds through for this current moment in time that we're in, is just to not lose sight that this is actually a temporary situation. There's days this feels like it's going to be forever. Like, absolutely, don't get me wrong. There's those days that are hard and that are long. But I think that's just an important piece. And underneath that, how important it is to just keep going and um, to just keep moving forward. And we're all going to go through extraordinary trials and tribulations in our lives. And you bet there's different things that are going to happen to different people that can make that very difficult to get through. But that notion of everything is temporary. And I know for myself, even with all of this right now, with the state of the world, I've really been clinging on to that. So that's a little piece there too. And yeah, there's so many things that are going on really from like now to the end of the semester. And one piece that I might highlight is there's a ton of activities and trivia and wonderful things that students can engage with out of 7220 entertainment. That is a lot of fun. And we've got out of the Slice office a couple things like our Pokes Vote initiative. Obviously, the election's on Tuesday, so it's not like there's weeks for students to engage and get involved, but that's wonderful education and things like that that I think are fun for students. Is there's different ways to engage. We've got giveaways. We've got fun things just to help students know, like, we see you and we get you. And we know we're at that kind of midterms point of the semester that is hard. So we're trying to offer some things to just, there again, help them keep going. And the other piece that coming up this next week is we've got 2 service days, and they're really rooted as self-care service days, and they're in-person experiences for students. And what's kind of cool is they're coloring and designing cards for some of our local seniors here in the community. And things like that, I think, matter. And when students can feel kind of alone and, what am I doing? And students that typically really love to volunteer, and those experiences are maybe a little limited right now, we're just trying to catch them with some opportunities where they know that they're going to really add some joy to somebody's life and make a direct little impact. And it's really focused on that component of self-care, and that it's more important now than ever for truly everybody. Let's be honest. Like, I think we could all use a little of that right now. So my goodness, there's so many things. And I would really push people to check us out on social media, check out our CSIL Instagram account, Facebook, and can certainly go to the website and at uwyo.edu/CSIL, and that's CSIL. If people are like, CSI, what? So it's CSIL, CSIL is that acronym. So yeah, those are the main things, and this has been such a pleasure.
Thank you. The thought passed my head. I was like, oh man, I didn't ask about the involvement fest that you did virtually, so we'll have to have you and Eric come back on and we can talk about that. Well, thank you, Erin, for joining us. Thank you all for watching, listening on YouTube. Give us a like, subscribe on the Campus Rec YouTube channel. We are also finally available on podcast form. So we are on Spotify, Stitcher. We should be on Google Podcasts and Apple Podcasts within the next week or so. So again, go ahead and subscribe to those channels wherever you get your podcast at. Thank you all for joining us, and have